En anglais, POILIEVRE, this is the NDP. They have kind of given up on, I think, Canadians. And that drives me crazy. But each week, we will do a weekly review of everything they contributed to in Parliament in English. That's the best we can do. Here we go. The NDP is letting this country down with its coalition government. It's awful. Why don't they stand up? They have good points sometimes. Let's take a look.
Mr. Speaker, parents deserve affordable quality childcare, and childcare workers need livable wages. But the Liberals are letting the $10 a day childcare program fail by not giving workers fair pay and benefits, leaving parents without childcare spots. And the Conservatives, they want for-profit childcare. This means higher fees for parents and lower wages for workers. Liberals and Conservatives don't care about care workers. When will the Liberals finally enforce livable wages and benefits for childcare workers so they can live in dignity?
We learned that the Conservative housing strategy is to browbeat so-called municipal gatekeepers and to force density near transit hubs. Now, neither of these things are relevant for rural Canada. In fact, in Northwest BC, we don't have transit hubs. We barely have public transit. People deserve affordable housing, but what mayors in my region tell me is that they can't build it without infrastructure, and here's where the Liberals come in. Why are communities having to wait so long to hear back about vital infrastructure grants?
Liberal government, the Prime Minister promised to tax the excess profits of corporate grocery stores if they fail to stabilize grocery prices. Well, they failed to stabilize prices, and the Liberals again broke their promise. The Liberals announced instead another study on food prices. Canadians don't need another study to know that they're being gouged by corporate greed. It turns out we've learned the Liberal housing minister received thousands of dollars in donations from none other than the Sobeys family. Is that why they're protecting their wealthy friends?
Everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. Yet Canadians living with a disability have been deplaned on a catering cart or forced to get on their hands and knees to crawl off a plane. Some of these dehumanizing experiences happened under the watch of Air Canada's CEO, and this Liberal government is doing nothing about it. They continue to give CEOs a free ride, even handing them billions of taxpayers' dollars. Will the Liberals stop protecting rich CEOs and start protecting people with disabilities?
Canadian families are desperate to bring their loved ones to safety in Canada. The rollout of the special immigration measure for Gaza is riddled with problems. People have been rejected without any explanation. Some are rejected and later approved with exactly the same application. Now officials are saying the 1,000 cap is almost reached. Yet many have not received the code from IRCC to move on to the next stage. What action is the minister taking to clean up this mess, and will he remove the arbitrary cap without further delay to save lives?
Jared Gerard was a beautiful young Cree artist. He died this past weekend in a horrific house fire in Peawanuck. A young woman is also dead, 3 others in hospital fighting for their lives. This government knew Peawanuck was at risk, and yet the minister nickel and dime the community over funding for a fire hall. A fire hall, that's basic stuff. People in Treaty 9 are tired of trauma and the broken promises. We need a full, comprehensive plan for fire safety in the north. No more fire deaths. Is the minister up for the job? Yes or no?
Have stewarded the lands and waters of Haida Gwaii for millennia, and today their leaders continue the long journey towards restoring their inherent right of self-government. Last year, they secured legislation in British Columbia that officially recognized the Council of Haida Nation as their government at long last. Now, this is a significant step away from the colonial binds of the Indian Act, consistent with the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. My question, will Canada also recognize the Council of the Haida Nation as the government of the Haida?
I learned a lot from the young women I met earlier today who are struggling to put food on the table. They're living a struggle the Prime Minister has never had to face. They're getting ripped off by corporate grocery stores, and the Prime Minister let it happen for over 2 years. So will the Prime Minister get serious now about taking on corporate greed by supporting my bill to reduce the price of groceries?
Canadians with disabilities are being treated unfairly by big airlines, and the Liberal solution another gentleman's meeting with the CEO who only cares about his own bottom line. This is a slap in the face to passengers who've had their human rights violated, having to drag themselves off a plane. Like with the greedy grocery CEOs, the Liberals are just letting Air Canada get away with it. Will the Prime Minister get serious about holding these CEOs to account to protect Canadians?
The Liberals are skirting their responsibility by underfunding the non-insured health benefits that provides dental care, eye care, mental health, and medical travel for Nunavut. Their actions are forcing Nunavut to divert funds to this program instead of their own health priorities. The Liberals need to step up. Their failure to live up to their responsibilities to Nunavut is unacceptable. Will the Prime Minister commit to its obligations to ensure Nunavut have the health care they are owed?
Voted no on the NDP bill to lower food prices for Canadians. They voted against giving the Competition Bureau more powers to crack down on greedy grocery chains and take advantage of families. Sky-high food prices are forcing Canadians with full-time jobs to resort to food banks to feed their families. Under these out-of-touch Liberals, ultra-rich CEOs win and Canadians lose. Why are the Liberals determined to keep grocery prices high for Canadians?
The Liberals made the decision to suspend life-saving funding to UNRWA without seeing any evidence of allegations or waiting for the results of the independent investigation. UNRWA is the only organization that can reach Palestinians in Gaza who are starving and who are being killed in the tens of thousands. And this government cut life-saving support. This decision needs to be reversed and somebody needs to be held accountable. Was it the minister or the PMO who decided that Canada should turn its back on starving Palestinians?
Every day, the Liberals show how out of touch they are. This week alone, they voted against an NDP bill that would lower food costs for Canadians. And then, with only 2 weeks' notice, they scrapped the Greener Homes program that helps Canadians lower their heating bills, while they still give out billions to big oil and gas CEOs. Canadians want to do their part to fight the climate crisis, and heat pumps lower costs and save lives. We need a program that makes sure that every Canadian who wants one can get a heat pump. Will the Liberals do it?
Have let the housing crisis get so bad that the province is forced to buy up hotels to house people who live in tents. This government's inaction has made provinces resort to desperate, improvised measures. Canadians deserve to live in dignity, in safe, secure, affordable homes they can call their own, not in tents in the coldest climate on earth. When will this government start stepping up to provide solutions to the St. John's housing crisis so that people don't have to live in tents anymore?
People in Nanaimo Ladysmith are relying on food banks now more than ever before. And what is this Liberal and Conservative corporate coalition doing? Pointing fingers at one another over who has the most grocery lobbyists in their back pocket. To make matters worse, the Liberals voted against an NDP bill that would lower food prices and crack down on out-of-control corporate greed. Mr. Speaker, why are the Liberals working for large grocery CEOs instead of doing what's right for people?
Belleville has seen 23 drug poisonings. They've declared a state of emergency because the mayor says emergency services and funding are stretched too thin. The toxic drug crisis keeps getting worse while the Liberals take a patchwork approach. Then there's Conservatives who spread harmful disinformation instead of offering real solutions. 42,000 people have died since 2016. We need a coordinated, compassionate, and integrated response. When will the minister finally declare the toxic drug crisis a national public health emergency? When?
Imperial Oil's Curral site in northern Alberta overflowed. It spilled 5.3 million litres of cancer-causing toxins into the environment, and even worse, it was shown that the pond had been leaking for years and is still leaking. And both Imperial Oil and the Alberta Energy Regulator knew, but they didn't tell the community. And what has this government done to hold Imperial Oil or the AER accountable for this disaster? Nothing. When will the minister do his job and make sure that the land and water that Albertans depend upon is finally protected?
Everybody knows that my riding makes the best wine in Canada, but January's extreme cold snap caused widespread damage to grape and fruit crops for the second year in a row. Some grape growers have experienced 100% loss of their vines. And on top of that, smoke taint from the now annual forest fires continues to affect many vineyards. Without government help to replant their vines, many wineries could be forced to close. So will the minister provide assistance to help BC grape growers and wineries survive climate change?
Wasagamak, Red Sucker Lake, St. Teresa Point, and Garden Hill have declared a state of emergency. They are unable to bring in fuel and other necessities because the ice roads they depend on have melted due to climate change. We are talking about thousands of people stranded. For years, the Liberals, like the Conservatives before them, have ignored the need for an all-weather road for these communities. What will it take for the Liberals to help build the all-weather road needed for the East Side First Nations who are already paying the price of climate change?
Denying trans kids their basic human rights by denying their access to life-saving health care. It's not the role of politicians to tell doctors how to treat patients. Meanwhile, this leader of the Conservative Party remains shamefully silent on attacks on trans rights. The hate and prejudice of some should never override the fundamental rights of others. Will this government commit to using the powers of the Canada Health Act to intervene in any denial of life-saving care for trans youth?
All right, so that's, I guess, my lament to the NDP, because there was a time in my life that I cheered for this party. I think that's past. I think those times have changed. But I still do believe in the hard-working Canadian family, like a unionized family. Well, what is better than that? The NDP used to represent something, and maybe they will again. Not under this current government, not this coalition. I'm Aaron. This is Question Period Canada. Like and subscribe. We're having fun here, learning all about refreshing ourselves with Canadian politics. We have a good time here. We've got a great community. We do all the question periods and we have a lot of fun. So check us out. We do a lot of live stuff. Check. That just about wraps up this video. I think we're done. I'm Aaron. This is Question Period Canada. We're having fun all the time, learning about Canadian politics. Have something healthy to eat, try to stay warm, and we'll be back tomorrow, so more videos yet to come. Like and subscribe. That'd be great. Ciao.